We have more on Hinckley now from Bettina Gregory. Bettina?
FBI sources say Hinckley has been arrested twice before. Once in California on a drug charge several years ago, and a second time last October 9th. Police at the Nashville airport picked up Hinckley as he tried to board an aircraft carrying 3 guns in his suitcase. Security was especially tight that day since President Carter landed and departed from that same airport since he was in Nashville to hold a town meeting. Hinckley paid a $62 fine and then was released. 4 days later, he was back in business, purchasing 2 more guns in Dallas. Sources say Hinckley has been in Washington a while, living in a rented room and using several different aliases. An FBI source confirms the agency has the gun Hinckley allegedly used for the shooting in its possession. ABC News has learned the Secret Service knew nothing of Hinckley's prior arrest in Nashville. They only found out about it after President Reagan was shot, and the chief of Metropolitan Airport Police from Nashville telephoned to let them know. A Secret Service spokesman candidly admits that's just the sort of information the Secret Service would like to have in its computer. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Washington.
Yes, that, of course, is the kind of information they would like to have in their computer, but if people are not going to be checked, standing around outside the hotel where the president's going to come out, it's hard to know whether they would have been able to identify him, although the agents are, of course, trained to be on the lookout for people who have been flagged to them, so to speak, as potential threats to the president. Hinckley tonight was taken from the jail to the federal courthouse, I believe, for an arraignment. Here he's in a Secret Service car, and I'm afraid all we're going to see is just the caravan of automobiles. He was taken before a federal judge and arraigned on a charge of violation of the federal officials' Assassination Act. Now, Stephen Gear is in Evergreen, Colorado, where his home, Hinckley's home, is located. So we're going to go to him now. Steve?
Information about John W. Hinckley, Jr. is still being pieced together, but the reasons for the assassination attempt are still unclear. This afternoon in Evergreen, Colorado, an attorney read a statement from Hinckley's parents saying their son had been under psychiatric care, but adding that the evaluations did not alert anyone to the seriousness of his condition. This is the home in Evergreen of John W. Hinckley, Sr. and his wife, Joanne, and their son, Scott, older than John, Jr. Previously, they lived in the Dallas suburb of Highland Park, where John attended school. The father, who did not speak directly with reporters, is the president of a company with offices in Texas and Colorado called Vanderbilt Energy. The Hinckley's neighbor for 5 years, Pete Slaybaugh, says he did not know John, Jr. Slaybaugh had dinner last night with the Hinckley's, but says that, as usual, they did not discuss their children. Although John Hinckley, Jr. did not go to school in Evergreen, he did hang around the high school. And this young woman told KBTV's Paula Woodward she remembers him well.
All I know is he was a really nice guy. When I knew him, there was nothing strange about him. He was real popular, had a lot of friends, and I was just an acquaintance of his, just, you know, talked to him in the halls and stuff, but there was nothing strange about him.
John Hinckley, Jr. apparently has not spent a great deal of time in the small town of Evergreen. Recently, he stayed at this Denver motel and hocked a typewriter and a guitar at this Lakewood, Colorado pawn shop, where he did not leave a favorable impression.
He was just, he was spaced out, I'd say. Some people are just weird, and this guy was just weird.
More will be learned, but there are some questions that only Hinckley can answer. Stephen Gear, ABC News, Denver.
Thank you, Steve. In Texas, Hinckley was fairly well known. He had some friends there. And our correspondent Charles Murphy reports from Dallas tonight that there are people in Texas who knew that Hinckley was sort of a gun nut, that he liked to collect weapons. We'll go now to Dallas for his report. Charlie?
Rocky's Pawn Shop is located in a rundown part of the city's business district. The shop's records show that a John Warnock Hinckley, Jr. purchased 2 guns here on October 13th last year. The guns were .22 caliber revolvers, similar to this $47 model being sold here now. The shop was visited today by agents of the FBI and the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division of Treasury. Shop owner Isaac Goldstein described the purchase to WFAA TV reporter Jack Chestnut.
It was an RG-14 blue steel. It was bought on October 13th, 1980. It's a 6-shot revolver. He bought 2 at the same day. There was 2 involved.
What was the other one?
Same caliber, same guy and a gun, same model.
ATF said Hinckley also purchased 3 guns in Lubbock, Texas, while he was a student at Texas Tech University. ATF believes the gun used in the assassination attempt was one of those bought in Dallas last fall. Charles Murphy, ABC News, Dallas.
Vice President Bush was in Texas today when he learned of the shooting. When he came back to Washington tonight, he said, "I can assure this nation and the world the American government is functioning effectively. The officers of the federal government have fulfilled their obligations with skill and care." Well, of course, there was great concern today about whether the government was functioning and just how things would go on during the uncertainty about the president. Our correspondent, George Strait, was accompanying the vice president on his trip to Texas today, and he has this report on the vice president.
George Bush had been in Texas trying to sell the president's economic plans. The assassination attempt occurred as Bush was leaving Fort Worth. The first inkling that anyone had that there was trouble came when there was a sudden rush of activity among the Secret Service agents on board Air Force Two. In fact, we are told the agents were the ones who brought Bush first word that the president had been shot. Those near the vice president say he was shocked, saying that he just couldn't believe it. Bush was scheduled to meet with the governor of Texas and address the Texas state legislature here in Austin, but in view of what happened, all of that was canceled, turning this stop into just a refueling one for Air Force Two as it prepared to rush back to Washington. While the plane was being refueled, Bush was on the phone to Washington talking to Secretary of State Haig. Last week, the president had designated Bush as leader of the crisis management team, but today, Haig said that he was in control.
As of now, I am in control here in the White House, pending return of the vice president.
He made it back to Washington in record time and was brought to Andrews Air Force Base under extraordinary security precautions. His plane taxied into a waiting hangar, which was guarded by sharpshooters. His helicopter was hidden on the other side, and Bush left without ever being seen. He went immediately to his residence and then went to the White House to be briefed. He then met with the news media and sought to reassure the American public.
The American government is functioning fully and effectively. We've had full and complete communications throughout the day, and the officers of the federal government have been fulfilling their obligations with skill and with care.
According to his aides, until the president returns, George Bush will be in charge. George Strait, ABC News, Washington.
And the president is expected to be in the hospital for some time, although doctors said tonight that perhaps it would be only a couple of weeks before he would be able to leave the hospital, and he's expected to be able to resume presidential decision-making tomorrow. The members of the president's family, of course, reacted with great shock. Mrs. Reagan went immediately to the hospital. His son in California finally emerged to say that he had received assurances from Washington that his father was doing well. But the reaction that perhaps best just symbolized the reaction of the country was that of the president's daughter, Maureen, who also spoke from California.
I am not prepared to accept this, whether it was my father or anybody else. I have seen throughout the day the reaction of other members of the family. Mine is fury and rage and anger, and that in this country, this kind of garbage still goes on, and it is not going to happen to this president. By God, it is not going to happen to this president, really. And I think that the American people have got to become angry about the crime in this country, about the ability of people to do this to other human beings, and we have got to stop it, and we've got to stop it right now.
Michael Reagan said tonight that he, his wife Colleen, his sisters Maureen and Patty will be going to Washington to be with the president when he comes out of the anesthesia tomorrow. There was no concern in his voice other than the love for his father, he said, and it should not be misconstrued. There is no danger to the president. It's just that the family wants to be with him. Tom Schell, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And that report was made just a short while ago, but obviously the information had not reached there that the president is indeed out of the anesthesia. He is under a mild sedation right now, but we understand is resting comfortably.